Put the recording on. Good, 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 good. All right then. So I'll start and just introduce myself. I'm Sharon Lovegrove, and I'm an evolutionary midwife and mental fitness coach. And I help professional women with imposter syndrome who are stressed, overwhelmed, depleted, doing what they can so they can't be seen as not perfect, to develop the mental fitness to reclaim back their life and resume their destiny calling with power, purpose, and grace. So today, we're going to talk about how to find a purposeful life, how to find and live a purposeful life. So I wanted to just ask a question first, which is, why is it necessary to live our purpose? Why is it necessary to have purpose? And if you can put that in the chat, let me know. What is it that tells you that you need to live your purpose? We're using the word purpose now, but for centuries, maybe ever since man has kind of been on this earth, we haven't really thought about our things as our purpose as such. So why now? Why do we need to have a purpose in order to expand and grow? What is it that we need to have? So I want you to consider something about why it might be necessary. And I like to think about purpose in a way of just real practicality. So have you ever thought, have you ever felt like you're being pushed uphill, that something's pushing you and you're kicking and you're screaming and you're trying very hard to push back, to push back, to push back. And when you get to the end, you may actually get to whatever that you've been pushed to do, and you'll maybe even end up feeling very relieved or incredibly tired and needing to take a lot of time to recover. So many of you may be in a job that actually pushes you in ways that kind of isn't your purpose, isn't your way of being, and you are being pushed and sandwiched in such a way that it's not joyful, right? And so guess what? You kind of end up feeling really tired and really out of control. Or you can be aware that the people around you may also be getting a little bit stressed, irritated, bothered by you because you are just not doing what they want, yeah? You're probably spending so much time and energy that it's just exhausting for them. And so what often happens is they kind of lose trust. They don't know how to trust you. They don't know how to kind of manage that state, which may be, yes, their problem, but it still is that you're part of the system. But consider what it would be like if you were excited about something, right? When you're excited about something you're interested in, something you feel compelled to do, like it's almost like something's like a string that's pulling you forward, yeah? There's so much energy. You're just in the flow. You're just enjoying. You can do this, and it feels like you could do this endlessly. It's almost like you have this power force that propels you forward. And it's really ease and flow. There's no push, there's no pull, there's just a push. There's a pull and a push, and it just takes you into that place. It's like being in a current and you're going with the flow. So it's not like having your hand on the brake when you're trying to drive your car, or you're trying to swim against a current. Which, can I ask, which one would you prefer? Which one would you prefer? Well, I know for me, I would choose the second one, right? Because, yeah, it's easier. Energy is it's less of an energy suck, and it makes you happy. It makes you happy. So the last time I talked about purpose, I talked from the perspective that we're here to expand and survive. And that's essentially one of the aspects is that we're a ball of electricity. So I kind of said that part of our purpose is the activation. It's that we are this ball of electricity. And when we die, the electricity goes out. But what really is happening is that when we die, our heart stops, right? So that's really what I was kind of going into, this idea that we have this aspect that we are electrical beings. We are electrical beings that create a magnetic force field around us. And I talked about Abraham Hicks, and I talked a little bit about Joe Dispenza, and we kind of looked and spoke about that. But I want to kind of move it a little bit deeper and another level so that you can hear it from another perspective. And I like to think about our heart as an electrical generator, right? And what I really want you to think about is that our heart is like a pulsar star, right? So a pulsar star is a star that has two stars going around each other, right? Now, we have actually a pulsar star, a pulsar heart in actual fact. We have two chambers. We have top chambers, which are the atria, and the bottom chambers, which are ventricles. So they kind of create a pulsar as they actually work together. But we've also got a physical heart, right? We've got our physical heart, which is our pump, but we have another heart, which is actually called the secondary heart, which is the heart of our emotion. And that is connected to our immune system. So we have kind of like two stars. We have a two star in the sense of the energetics and a two star in the physicality. And the thing is that, we know we have the physical heart that allows blood to pump through. But did you know that in actual fact, when the heart goes, the atria and the ventricle do this, basically what happens is it's creating an alternating current. It's creating an alternating current. So that gadoof, 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 gadoof is a circuitry. And it's a self-sustaining circuitry because it's moving and it's moving and it's shifting and it's changing and it's doing this. Actually, this was just an illumination that just came to me just before I started writing this. And I kind of thought, oh my goodness, because one of the biggest things that changed for us in the world was electricity, wasn't it? We realized that we could alternate electricity so that electricity would be self-sustaining. So we used to have a lot of our electricity in what we call series or parallel, until we decided to swap things, swap the magnets around. And guess what? We got sustained electricity. So our heart is creating this sustained electricity, right? So there's one thing that it does really well. And we know that there is a generator, there is an initiator, which is in the right side of our heart, which is the part of our heart that is the sinoatrial node. And we know that this part of the heart is directly under the control of our parasympathetic nervous system. Interesting. And that's a system that's all to do with our rest, our repair, and our reproduction system. So everything that's to do with health, harmony, expansion, growing in any form has to do with the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, most of us would have a heart rate that sits at least 120, 130. Now, if we listen to a baby's heartbeat, the parasympathetic is actually not highly activated. Strangely enough, their heartbeat is so fast, right? So they don't yet have that control by breathing, because our breathing actually activates a lot of the parasympathetic nervous system. But I'm digressing now. But I wanted to just bring in all of this because it does actually make sense when you start to see it from a very, very big picture. So I want you to think of your heart as your North Star, right? And your North Star is the star that you kind of veer for. It's your compass. It's the way you're going to go in order to move forward in life. So, and I can say it's our North Star because we are a pulsar, right? If we think about our heart, we got to think about it as a pulsar, all right? It's a star that's activating and it's constantly reactivating and it's shining and it's emanating a rhythm. It's emanating a frequency of some form. So last night, I just got this, I think the download happened when I was listening to a program which was the 30 years of the Hubble telescope. And it was the anniversary, I think, sometime this week. And so it started to make me think of stars in creation. And so I want you to think for a moment what it would be like to imagine that every cell in your body is a star in creation. I want you to think about that for a minute. Every cell is a star in creation, right? And every cell in your body is created and has a purpose. There's not one cell in your body that wasn't created with a purpose. And cells grow up in a nursery, right? So we can think about cells that are going to, new cells are going to grow. So liver cells grow in the liver. There's the nursery of the liver until it becomes a proper, fully grown cell. And it gets fed to maturity, and it follows the footsteps of what? It's calling. It's calling. It's following the footsteps of where it is, where it's located, and in its calling. And it knows what to do. Yeah, it knows what to do. And there's no effort at all at what it's doing because it's doing what it's supposed to. There's no resistance. No resistance. So I'm going to do a little bit of more biology here because I love biology, and many of you might know that it was my primary kind of desire at one point. So why do stem cells? So I guess what I want to think about it is this. Okay, so I talk about stars and the cells, and they're growing with their purpose, right? So stem cells, how often do stem cells actually take? Actually, they don't take as fast as other cells probably would. So they don't, the stem cells are there because we kind of know they have an ability. They're called multipotent cells. So they have ability to create new cells, but they struggle because they are not totipotent cells. Now we all have, when we're born, well, no, we're not born, when we're created, it's put, when we're created, we all have totipotent cells. And these are the cells that can create another whole human being, another whole human being. And we can't have us being divided and divided and divided to be another whole human being, because there would be thousands and thousands of us and we'd just end up with so much in one body, it just wouldn't work. So our body cuts off. Once we've got the number of cells that we need for the number of organs and the number of systems we need, the totipotent cells, they stop. They stop. And then we have a series of cells called pluripotent cells, and those cells, they are able to shift and change a little more than the stem cells, but these ones are able to do a little bit more. And that's all very good and well, but how do they know how to get where they need to go? How do they know this? How do they know that? They come, they're born, they exist, our cells. How do they know where to go? Right in the very, very beginning. They know where to go because our heartbeat tells them where to go. Our heartbeat is the ley line. They create ley lines, the frequencies where they overlap. They create ley lines for the cells to grow. And this is how it happens. The cells follow that way. So we have to think about everything in the form of energy, in the form of what our purpose does. So there are special cells that tell us we can be anything. And then there are cells that say we have to direct ourselves. And it almost is like we get put into the place where we are actually where our direct purpose is. And that is part of what we need to do when finding our purpose, is we have to kind of narrow in, so that we find the one thing that really makes us happy. So anything that would halt the course, the natural course of energy, is going to cause us problems in our life, in any field of our life. So it would be in the sense of whether it would be our health, our wealth, our happiness, our creativity. Well, that pretty much can cover all of them, because they could all be fitted under those four. Spirit. But being connected to our purpose opens up the energy channels. It literally opens the energy channels, and it then informs every cell that we meet. And every challenge that we meet, we see them as opportunities. We don't see them as roadblocks. Yeah. So it's so useful to think about it, is that when we have this channel opening up, now you can think of it as meridians. You can think of it as, well, I think of it as meridians, but I also think of channels going through my body. And when I do that, I think about that being cleared, right? So that there's free flow of energy, free flow of anything. It means I'm also free to flow. I'm free to go. And the thing is, when we are in free flow, we know that we can work around objects. We know that we can find our way. And the thing is, having a purpose means that we come to these obstacles and we don't see them as roadblocks. We just see them as growth, opportunity to become more, to expand, maybe to shift a little bit, so that we can get to that space that we want to be. So research also shows that, and so just to validate one of those points that I said, research shows that if you use willpower to, in some sort of research things that they've done, is if you use willpower, say, for example, you were told, okay, don't have any of this cake, and you want to have the cake. What they found out was that people performed less. They performed worse, or they ended up, if they stopped having the food, that later they would overindulge. Because once the willpower had gone, because remember, willpower requires energy. Once the willpower had gone, it was like the dam had busted, and they were unable to control themselves and hold themselves. But if you're working from your purpose, right, you're not expending energy. You're actually using energy from a deeper desire, right? So you work from a desire that's deeper, a love for oneself. Right? When we have our purpose, we're connected. We're in a whole body area, right? And when we're in a whole body experience, we can feel differently. And part of that purpose, once we connect to ourselves, there's a natural drive that happens. There's a natural drive that happens. And that natural drive activates us. It activates us. And it literally gives more energy to the heart, so that the heart can now be a little more bountiful. And it starts to excite the heart a little bit more. Not that it makes it go faster, but it gives it more ability to contract. It gives it more ability to be able to expand. It gives it more ability to conduct energy. So one of the things that you always look for if you talk about heart conditions, you will ask, do they have contraction, right? Is there enough contraction? Is it able to have enough force? Does it also have enough can it conduct it? So one is inotropic, chromotropic, and dromotropic. Does it have a good rhythm? Does it have a good rhythm? If the rhythm's out, so if the things are not going doof, 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 the one's going doof, 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 then this is not going to get anything, is it? So what you want is you want to have three things that are absolutely essential. And amazingly, this Holy Trinity is in every walk of life. There is always the materialization has to be in the Trinity, which is bizarre, but it's a fact. So finding our purpose builds excitement. Excitement builds energy. Energy builds more contractility. It builds more conductivity. So we're more likely to connect and make connections. And it builds more rhythm. And that rhythm means that we have that moment to expel into the universe, to move, to be catapulted, to be able to be pushed higher and higher. And it's kind of like, you know, those kids on the swing, you're getting pushed and the kids go, higher, push harder, push harder. So for once, you're not saying, don't push me. You're actually saying, push me. I want to go higher. I want to go higher. I want to expand. I want to go more. I want to go more. And of course, excitement makes the heart happy. It opens up, as I said, it creates more electricity. You start to have more conduction between these alternating currents, and the body starts to work better. Why? Because now you've got more oxygen. Now you've got more food. Now you've got more energy to move. Now you've got more cellular repair. Yeah, you're fixing things, and you're also creating things, which is what the body likes. We expand. Our body expands. Our body literally becomes like little stars firing up, right? They're in their full maturity of that star. And as we fire up, it fires and it burns brightly, cleanly, as like nothing else before. And this is the purpose of purpose. This is the purpose of having a purpose, right? That we can burn brightly with absolute minimal extra dust, but that we burn like a shining star. And we're able to do this efficiently. Yeah. Like when we burn high octane energy, there's very little smoke. It's just pure burning, which is clean. So when we're in our purpose, we realize that we don't focus simply on acquiring, because we realize that that's coming from the wrong place. We focus on the feeling that we generate, so that when we feel good, and everybody knows when we feel good, guess what? Everybody else feels good. Can you remember why I said that before? I don't know whether you might remember, but it's all to do with mirror neurons, right? It's all to do with mirror neurons. So I'm smiling here. I don't know whether you're smiling. I'd love to know. Do you smile when you watch me smile or not? If you do, put it in the chat. Let me know. So that it's just a way of knowing that we are in this mirror neuron system. And when we smile, then the world smiles with us. Yeah, the world smiles with us. So really consider, in order to fulfill your purpose, in order to feel better, in order to let go of stress, in order to feel lighter, happier, better, you have to consider loving what you're doing. Oh, effort, yeah, smiling, good. I'm glad that you're smiling. So yeah, we've got to look at what we're good at. And I know you like doing events, so really look at how you do your events so that they are the best in your way of being, your essence, in your thing. What is it that I like doing here? And let me do more of these things. Yeah, because that is how you bring your unique contribution to the world. And when we are bringing what we are here, when we do what is purposeful, yeah, when we do what we're meant to do, that is our calling. We're like those cells that really have no effort. They just do what they do because they do their calling, right? We don't have a lung cell going into our heart and saying, oh, hey, I want to be here. I prefer it in here, because a lung cell does not have the same cells as a heart, right? The lungs are unique. They have their own system. They have their own way of doing and protecting our body. And they also give us oxygen. They do so much more than just our breathing, right? Our lungs do so much more. They actually are our first line of defense other than our skin, right? So it's really important. We need to be in the area where we need to be in order to be fully who we are, right? So in order to have our purpose, we've got to know where we are. We've got to find our fit. We've got to have our goodness of fit, find our fit. And when we find our fit, we will flourish. So when you fully flourish, you will serve. You will serve people because it'll come so naturally, and it won't be an effort. It won't come from a need or a force or a heaviness. It won't come from any of those things. It will come from an absolute delight. And you'll be as light as can be. You'll be in the light. Well, in the light. Okay. So I love playing with words, as you know. Good. So that's how you get to live your life, find and live your purpose. So we've come to the end of the talk today, and I can see it's 26 minutes, so that's good. And if there's anything that I have said, for those of you that come on later, please connect with me and we can have that conversation about how I can support you. And I'll leave a link in the comments. So please book in, and I'd love to hear from you and to help you, because of course it's my purpose. So I'm going to say goodbye, but I want to thank you for coming on and listening and letting me share, let me talk about things which might seem almost totally disconnected from purpose. But actually everything, every cell in your body has a purpose. And therefore it absolutely makes sense that you should too. And it absolutely makes sense that so long as you know what your purpose is, you're going to be in easy flow, because it's going to allow you to do whatever it is that you need to do. So if you're on the replay, please put your comments in the replay so I can answer you and respond. And yeah, and I'll put the link in there right now so that it is there. I'll do it right now, actually, and it's there. So catch up soon, hopefully to speak to you soon. And I'll be here certainly next Friday, and look forward to seeing you then. Take care. And thank you all that have been on with me today. Bye-bye.